Oh yeah, I'm back. um, have the time. I don't know how much time I have, but I got the time, and I honestly cannot stay away, man. Because I'm working on my portfolio, and I'm like, hey, why not? Why not stream it? You know. So I had a couple things to do, and I guess I got them done early. Well, might as well. So they just jump right back into it, and I just realized too with this that man, I don't know if if the video capture has been from the last couple streams. I don't know if it's been capturing Figma completely because I have this monitor is a 2K monitor. The other twos are so yeah. I gotta like looking at it right now. I can see it's cutting off some stuff on the side. Um, yeah. So I don't know. Hopefully, it wasn't too much of a problem. But yeah. Anyway, so I'm just gonna pick up where we left off. I guess I'll give another quick overview. And so again, working on I'm for my portfolio, I'm redesigning research tool I've been designed for a client the last couple years. Essentially, it was something that was used internally, allow them to do certain kind of research with a very thick NDA. So I definitely did not work on this while I was definitely did not work on it while I was working for the client because I how they would do that. There was a desktop version that already existed, so he was tasked with creating a mobile version of it. You know, gathered all the requirements over here, did some discovery testing over here, different parts, showed kind of like how we did the sketches, kind of the sketching. Like I said, because there was a pre-existing desktop version, a lot of the design was already kind of in place, and so we were just kind of making a mobile-friendly version of it. So we just did sketching, just played around, with some, blocking stuff out, right? Threw together a very, low fidelity user flow to show to the stakeholders really that they're cool with kind of how we were imagining navigation would be. They were perfectly fine with it. And so I've been working on starting today, moving on to mid fidelity. Right, and showing off some of the some of the stuff that we did. So essentially to sum up, and actually today I finished the mid. Right, so pretty much what it did was we went back in. Said, okay, good. They're cool with these screens. They're cool with the navigation, the workflow in general. Okay, cool. Let's attack those screens and let's look at them, deeply. Right. For the home page here, the home screen, we tested a couple different ways for them to go about it. Right. We tested those things. We did previously look at a couple ways to do the kind of how the general search would look, but again, it's kind of a pretty common mobile pattern, so there really wasn't much that we really had to mess with it. Users did see some different kind of low fidelity versions of it, and they were pretty clear. Again, the forms that were used for specific search, right? Again, it's forms, so there really wasn't a whole lot to mess around with, right? We did try a couple little things here and there, but mostly like I tried fitting things and seeing how well they fit and everything, but ultimately it always came back. So pretty simple form. Then designing what the search results would look like. And this again, stuff like this was based sort of same as like a lot of this stuff is based on sort of math. You kind of just start with size of icons, size of text, and then eventually it kind of just falls into place how the size of what other things will be. look at it and say, okay, is that good? And it's kind of like you kind of just let the math work itself out. So got search results. Then the big one was information cards, right? Designing and that was a bigger project because, like I said, they had one on desktop, but it was very large. There was a lot of room for information. A lot of these cards could have a ton of information. Hoping I can mock up one that has a lot of information to come and demonstrate. You do want to, I like to stress test any designs I get. I like to stress test them to kind of make sure that approved, right? And so the information cards, they have a side where you can profile information. I might get rid of the profile. I might. And then there was a side to it where you could look at relationships, where you could find other items related to. And so that was like taking the search results screen, kind of making a smaller version inside of the information card. Right, so before we left off today, we finished all the mid-fidelity stuff. We put together the user flow with mid-fidelity, right? And again, to remind what I do at mid-fidelity is, we start to build some of our components, start to make things more real in terms of like pixel and positioning on the screen, and start adding some real-world data to make sure that good. And so this is what we did. Put together, we went with that same user flow, right? And we put it into mid-fidelity. All right, let's show this to stakeholders. Make sure they're good with this. And they were good with it. We're happy with it, loved it. Some things we changed and adjusted, maybe like a little here and there. But ultimately they were like, yep, love it, that looks great, perfect, keep moving forward with it. And so that's when it's like, all right, so let's take a much closer look at these different screens and these different workflows, and let's make sure that we're in a good spot and we're good. So that's when it becomes more interesting. Okay, and so this is where we start to explore a little more, start to look at more use cases. At the same time, we're also getting, so it was never a very linear process. Like, we've probably presented a mid-fidelity user flow 3, 4, or 5 times. And a stamp of approval was stamped and then unstamped. It was because there was just, it's a constantly like evolving thing. So one thing I wanted to share that we got to mid-fidelity and that we need to look at was the search forms. And that was because there were forms that could be incredibly, incredibly long, right? In fact, I'm going to use using Gemini to help me come up with information here. Help generate some information just to kind of fill this stuff in. And because right now this form I have is 9 or 10 fields. When for the client, some of those forms be 49. The longest one they had was 49 fields, approximately 3.75 or something screens long. So, I mean, it's an immense amount of information. In fact, This was essentially it. Realize I'm like, okay, so as we're getting more in these forms, I'm like, okay, some of these forms are getting pretty huge. So how can we improve on that? What can we do to make that easier to work with? So what we did was set up testing. Some of the forms are very long. Maybe to kind of illustrate what some of the issues are, right? Right, so obviously this is used for searching, right? And the point of the form is to give you parameters that you can search with. But you know, it's hard to, you know, it's really hard to know, well, what parameters can, what parameters are available, because there's so many, right? How could you possibly know? You know, just looking at this, you know, if I'm searching for fruit, I'm like, okay, name, color, and size, right? That's all I'm gonna think about. But maybe like buried underneath there somewhere is something where I'm like, oh, that actually, that parameter would be helpful. I actually know I actually know information about that parameter, but it's so buried underneath. How am I supposed to? How am I supposed to know it's even there, right? So it's hard to know that parameter is available. You know, they get lost. Lost, or they lose place on the form. There was also some forms had, the one that had a lot of fields. There were 4 subheadings, 4 sections of it. And then the sections were so long that, you know, you could be in the middle, like you looking at your screen, you'd see nothing but fields, but you have no idea what subheading. Now we solved it with, you know, we just used a sticky header, so that kind of solved that issue. But still, it's like, well, still, it's just really bad practice. Really doesn't really go really well. So yeah, and just hard to navigate around on it, right? So we decided to so we needed to come up with a solution that was future proof as well, because we're like, well, what are the, you know, new forms are being we're going to be added periodically. And I'm like, okay, well, we have one that's super long. We need to come up with a solution that can kind of be a one size fits all that will help us in case we get one that's even longer, right? So that way we don't have to go backwards and redesign a whole bunch of stuff. Let's just kind of get it right the. So here's what we did. We did some testing. Put this. To be honest, there was a lot of these improvements were implemented, you know, before this point. But like I said, I can't remember exactly. Like I said, because the information was low, and there were plenty of times we just had to go backwards, evaluate stuff. So what we did is we set up a testing. This is the stuff I love. We set up some testing. So designed one. You know, I always use a control. I always keep like the base version of it there as a control. The other option that we tried um, was using accordions. Going to kind of so the way we had it. So um, tried creating accordions. Accordions. I don't think there were 40 pixels. 32. I want to do 32. Like there was. This is 60. So let me see. Go into Google Icons and grab. Have been the lightest. But so here's what we tried this. So we used the real uh real world data. And we tried. But I'm going to my for my own update them later, but for the sake of our so since these are both touch targets, go at 60. Say give it 10. 1, 2. I'm just gonna go full placeholder. Make them into components, so that way I could stuff with. So open. Or no, frame. God, I'm not working in that. Doesn't want to. That's the. All right, so that's. Turn. Still not quite, but it is what it is. But that's the basic idea. here, and so that way it was a method for, and by the way, the desktop version quite a bit, but it was a way to to kind of compartmentalize all this information, right? So that you could, figure out, problem. When you got more than one section. Of them. Seems like a good solution. Would got these. Duplicated. Need to have enough space in between these, which we already have. We already have worked out a method for that, right? We've already pixels related but separate. Perfect. Gives us plenty of room. Kind of make that visual. I gotta adjust it. I'm just trying to get the basic, get the understanding what type. Okay. Which, like I said, it sounds now you can see the open one, push the other down. Which here, here's the advantages, right? Is that we want them to, problems is we want to give them an overview. Like the nice thing is it's like, oh, well, you can see the sections, right, all at once, so that's perfect. You can see all the sections at once, so that's great. You can get at least an understanding, a base understanding of what parameters are available to proposal. But the problem is if you have it, have it open where it pushes the other ones down, well, now you have the same problem as before. So in reality, how it would work is the way it had, so the only way to keep that advantage is you had to make it so that you had to, the way to keep that advantage like is to make sure that you have it so that all of the section names are there present at all times. Right, so then you would keep that advantage, right? And so the way it would work, actual section, the actual section where that you could utilize could actually look at fields was right in here, right? The only way to keep all the advantages, have the overview available, is to make sure that they're on. And I think we changed the spacing between pretty accommodate it, right? But this was the problem. Like, well, the problem is though, now you're having a problem. Well, now you can't see enough field, right? And of course, it was like, well, right now, I mean, this was our current worst case scenario. Was there was a form that was just like this where we had. It's like, well, what happens if we get 5, 6? And of course, they brought up, they're like, oh, well, let's make it so the sections disappear. It's like, well, then we might as well not have them at all, because they're not really helping, right? It's like, well, that's the same as this, right? That's the same problem as this one here. The stuff just gets buried, below the fold, so that it just doesn't really, it just doesn't really solve the issue. I feel like it was. Of course, we need to make sure that, like, we have space between this button and here. We had to make sure there's enough form fields in here because they're both touch targets. So, and I'll say the users actually really liked this. They actually really liked this concept, which kind of says that this was their favorite. They really really liked it. But this was one of those instances where it was like, problem is, it's just it's not scalable, really not future. This type of thing might work just fine on desktop, but it's like, but it's not, it's not going to work. I'm trying to think, there were 2 others I tested. But the other one, was fact, facing 12. Because the section is not a touch target, I was able to. Right, and so this was one. Now I can get the real reality of how one of them was. Good memory. The testers, I really liked working. He was. We just. We just. I don't know, man. We just really died with each other. I'm actually gonna go ahead and bring those. Right, so we have this one. This one, um, utilize a quick scroll method, and so I came up with an idea for a quick scroll method, which I actually saw on I was browsing like a wiki for like video game or something, and I was like, that's awesome. Like that's, oh my god, that's perfect. That's like, it's so simple to implement, but man, but it like it kills it, man. It does awesome. So the way it works, let me go ahead and stick. Go ahead and grab this. I'm going to stick this in component library. Man, I got so excited. One of the yeah. This is also again bought. Now do whatever I want. Change it to what? Tons of years of testing was not even up. Like literally that way. Project. Right? So got a contents tool here. I'm looking. Here's how it works. Tap on this and it opens up a window, modal, call it, that shows like a table of contents for everything there. And then when you know, and then it shows you a list of all the contents, subheading. And then you can tap on one and it will quickly scroll to that section. Um, 6. Get 32. Up there. This is this stays the color of the like it's. You know what, I think this was 40. Give it some. So Right. Right up with dog is barking crazy. But I know probably looking pastime. Barking, barking, barking. Like a buffer down 32 pixels, 24. So that's you know what, I actually don't like using like to use instead of using strokes. Don't always pretty sure these are pretty. Okay. Pretty sure the rectangle. Those are. In fact, I don't think they. Work it out once I. So this is pretty much how it. I can't remember. Hey, hey, and Amanda. Oh, good to see you. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's good to man. It's been a while. It's been a while, but yeah, thank you for jumping in and commenting. I appreciate it. Very much appreciate. I hope it's been helpful. Yeah, there will be a replay of this, and I'll probably be doing like a proper YouTube video to go over all of this. I'm primarily doing this because I need to update my portfolio, and I was like, I might as well do it on stream while I'm at it. You know, can't hurt, can only help. So. Yeah. That looks like it fits just. These should. Doing with a semi. There's just too much gold. Okay, that icon is definitely too. That is definitely. Again, like I said, everything seems bigger on Figma. Yeah, that's too small. That doesn't look right. Like, let's bump it to 20. Bet that will feel much better. I feel like it. So, might make a prototype of it, kind of show how it works. Like I said, I'm trying to move kind of quick through this for portfolio purpose. So these were the different tests, designs that we tested. Right. Again, as a reminder, it's when the forms would have a lot of fields. So we tested these. Again, I tested the typical base way as a control. Of course, they were like, "This is abysmal." The task I gave them, so I gave them a task. does that. Yep, that's. I'm sure that there are other sections that. Eh, I'll figure it out later. Right, so this was the. Look at it later. It was create a ton more work. Right, so we had the version where they just, had to deal with the form and just scroll around, and the tasks that I gave them. Right, so whenever I do testing, I give them a task, and I have them perform the task. And so the task had it so that they had to fill in 4 fields from the different 4 sections, and they hated it. They were like, "This is terrible. I'm losing my mind. This is horrible." I was like, "Okay, good." As I had guessed, as it should be. Yes, it was absolutely horrible. And like I said, we did. There was another one. I can't remember what the other one was. I'm pretty sure there was another. I tested 3, but I'm thinking that I had the control. Was only. Maybe the other one will come to me, right? And then we had this version where, we had the sections, in as accordions. And so you could collapse and, open and collapse to see fields and things like that. Which, like I said, the users actually liked it. The users liked it a lot. Like I said, the problem is that the only way it's really effective is if you can see all of these accordions on screen at all times. If they get buried underneath the fold, then you have the same problem as here. And then, like I said, that means that the only area you can work around in is right here. That's the only area that you can navigate with it. And that's no bueno, right? And then, of course, it was like, well, what happens if we have 5 sections or 6 sections? It starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller. It's not scalable, right? And then we can't. And then try the quick scroll method, where you just tap on the table of contents and it shows you an overview of your entire thing. You would tap on, for example, section 4. The modal would disappear, and this would quickly scroll to section 4 for you, and place section 4 right at the top. And it was really interesting because when I did testing, like I said, they liked this one the best. They liked this one the best. When it came to this one, they were like, "Huh." They're like, there's something to this. They're like, there's something to this. We like this one. We really like this one, but we like this one too. I think it was like they're like, we don't like it, but man, it really works well. It's a really good solution. And I think too, at that time, I didn't design the modal very well. I made it kind of looked like a side panel. So that may have been why they didn't like it. But the concept of it, they liked the concept of it. And so this is where, when they came to me and said, "Okay, so what do you think should be done?" And I said, I have to I know they like this one the best, but this is the one that I know is scalable, right? When we make it like this, it doesn't matter how many, you could have 20 sections. No problem, right? No problem getting to stuff. You could even have, these right here are just the names of the sections. You could have like subsections for these to make it even more, make it even easier, right? And so this is where came to a solution, and this is the one that I decided to go with. Right, so that was one thing that we going to this like an identifier, which is the ones that that even maybe like a 60. And you know, and you do feel kind of guilty for kind of like overriding what users said. You know, but like I said, it's but sometimes, you know, that it's necessary because it's like, well, you're not just designing an app. You know, it's like, you know, there's a full project, there's a lot going on, right? And like I said, it's also very possible that I had not designed, the modal did not look like this. It looked like much smaller and probably not as usable. And so that could have been the reason why they were like, okay, we like it, but we like this one. But the nice thing is like, well, like it would be like really bad, as if they're like, we hate it. They're like, sorry, we got to go with it. That would be, that's the really bad. That would be something really bad. But like I said, the nice thing is you're like, may not have been their number one favorite, but they did like it though. But they did like it. In other words, it's like if you had to do that, it wouldn't be a problem. So, you know, good. So the nice thing is this, like I mentioned before. Now the forms, information here corresponds to the same information that appears on the information cards, right? Which is why, you know, the forms exist and why they work how they work. Looking at this now. 12? The spacing here. Oh, 12. 12 here too. 12 is a lot. I don't know. We'll see. We had it tighter than what I have it here. Like I said, I'm also finished with that. And but like I said, so for example, if you have, you know, if you're searching with a form that has tons and tons of information, right, tons and tons of fields, that information card has information that corresponds to that plus extra. So that means that the information card is also potentially really, really long too. In fact, it definitely is. And so we were like, oh, well, this, and so that when that became a question for stakeholders, like, how do we deal with that? I was like, oh, well, we came up with a method for forms. I mean, you can use it on anything, really. And we said, hey, why don't we implement that on the information cards? And they were like, perfect. You know, so it's a really awesome, you know, scalable solution. It's really, really simple, easy to use. So, you know, it was really, really great. So the next thing that we were looking at is the search results screen. Right, we had already designed the search results and everything, and how they would look. Now my fan is haunted again. Okay. So now it was, okay, this number can get really, the number of items here can get, there can be a lot there. My goodness. Part of my mustache is like going up my nose. Give me 1 second. It's kind of a weird thing. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. Okay. That should be. Ever since I started growing out a beard, man, my life is like in craziness. Right. So, the thing was, this list can get really, really long. Now for um, and then also too, you keep in mind that when you would get the search results screen, it was just a crazy, crazy long list, right? I mean, you can, like I said, there are, this many categories, more than that. Clients thing, more. These are categories of stuff, right? And so, in this example, just looking up the word apple, you can imagine that's like, well, not only are fruits going to come up, but anything that has the word apple in it, right? It's going to get, crazy. And so, uh, that, now there wasn't really like a whole lot of complaints. They were kind of just like they were just kind of like used to it. But um, just looked at it and said, they spent this is a really big part of their workflow. What can we do to make right? And so this is something we probably attacked this, reattacked it 4 or 5 times. You know, problems is there's lots of items, right? Or like the problem is there are and that was kind of the thing. It's like, and that's kind of varying levels. Not, if they're looking for like one thing specifically, right, one item. First off, it's like looking into the ocean, right? It's that crazy, right? But I mean, sometimes they're like, I'm not even trying to find that one thing. I'm trying to find just like the group that it might be in, and I can't even find that, right? So we looked at a few different ways to make that easier. We had some problem was we had some limitations. Um, we had some pretty big limitations came to search results. We actually couldn't filter. There just wasn't a way to filter. So yeah, pretty difficult. I might actually come back to this one because my brain needs to marinate a little bit on the methods that we use to solve it. Plus, it's not as fun as this. Okay, so this. Um, you know, spec for this. It was more of a sense of optimizing. It was more of a sense of optimizing for users, right? For example, we did, so we did some discovery views about it. Um, just got some of them. Just grabbed some and said, let me just tell me about this. tell me how you use it, you know, what you use it for, you know, and stuff like that. And here's the stuff that they all said. You know, they like to be able to send it to like to be able to send it to other people, right? You know, they're like, you know, maybe there's a group of us looking for the same thing, and I found it. I'd like to be able to send it to them really quickly without having to message. Be like, oh, just look up this and then look up this, look up this. And we're like, okay, man, it's going crazy. You know, so send it to other people. One thing I had mentioned again, you know, I found that it's like, you know, there can be a ton of there can be a ton of information on it, right? You know, it's bad enough, you know, on the form, but this, it's like, oh man, I mean, it's just, you know, when you see the zebra striping just over and over and over again, you start to get almost mesmerized. And so, um, you know, we wanted to, you know, work on the navigation for that, which again, like, oh, we can do we can just use the navigation from the navigation solution that we got for the form, right? I think what else was there? Oh, um, there were some that could have like a ton of, they had subsections of information, right? Just like these forms have subsections, but they could have like subsections within subsections, and they would just be really, really crazy long. And so we looked at, you know, some ways of possibly making it so that you could, instead of it just being all present there, you could tap on something and it would put it up in its own section. So that was something we had looked at. Oh, that was it too. They mentioned like, oh, like sometimes, and that was kind of along with the along the lines of like, there's a lot of information. Um, you know, I kind of asked them like, how do they use this? Um, and I asked them, you know, about browsing versus searching, right? So a really good example is like Netflix, right? You know, the carousel method, that works really well when you're just browsing, you just want to look through, right? It's like looking through a catalog. But what about when you know you want something specific? You're like, there's a specific movie that I'm here to see. That stuff, it's like, oh, it's like it's not helpful, right? Not when you know exactly what you want, right? So I had asked them, you know, how often do you browse through things while searching? They said, you know, it's like half and half, right? Um, and so, I was like, okay, so then we need to make it easier to do both of those things, right? To browse stuff and to search stuff. Um, so we just, I guess we might just put those features, right? Um, you know, make it easy to also making it like, well, let's make it so that you can maybe you can save them, store them somewhere to look again later, right? Um, then using like keyword search. that was we thought about. Right? So making it so you can share it, have an option that you can save it for someone, right? Better navigation around, and having some kind of keyword search. And this is around the time where we started to discover, like, oh, okay, this is where again, where our navigation, the navigation bars that we were evolving, were starting to, say, okay, some of these navigation bars we might need to have several options, right? Several possibilities, right? And so, given the design of the information cards, right, those tools would go right up here on the navigation, how we had kind of dictated it. So it was perfect, great. And so considering that there was like essentially 4 features that we wanted to in for, we I had initially thought my initial solution was to, like I said, well, this is what you do when you need more than 3 tools. We put them underneath an options menu. But one of my developers said, well, you know what, sharing is something they frequently do. I wonder if maybe that should be on the front. Maybe that should, maybe we can have the option, but we also have share over here. And I was like, that's a good point. That's a good idea, right? And so actually, the way it would actually work, actually, I think I just went with this. So, like I said, so we had an option that we came up with for like 3 tools when you don't need a page title, which, of course, for the information cards, you don't need a page title immediately because the title is right there. But as you scroll up, this, actually both this and this, become the page title, right? So we were looking at like, okay, well, maybe it starts out with 3 tools, but then when you slide up, then it becomes this, where this would be option and this would be share button, right? And so we thought about that. I can't remember if we ever really. I think we didn't decide on before my time was done. But I'm gonna go with oh, done. I forgot they're all. Right, so I'm just going to hide this. I kind of go with the thing that's the. I don't have it yet. Hey. All right, so I was hiding Alexa. Have it repeat a message. Okay. Need to make sure. Oh man, back and just. All right, so icon there. That think no, it's actually circle. That's okay. Go ahead and make. Oh, yep. Technically, I'm looking at like presentation for my part. Trying to follow a theme. I should probably wrap it up. Right. So here's what we did. Um. Oh. Six. I think it was 200. I don't know. I can't remember what I made it. But essentially, you know, you had the share, right? Share would work natively as usual, and so you could send that to other people. Um, so it was essentially another menu, just like this one, but smaller. And so, and you had your other tools in there, where you could bookmark it or save it. You had the contents, so you could quick scroll, and then there was a search thing to do a keyword search. So those were, um, you know what, I'll go ahead and create those. That won't take me. We already have search S. The one I said. That saved was the book. That they were very very happy about as well. No way. Oh, Sure where that. Hasn't changed anything anyway. Monty. He's always ready to go. Okay. All right. I'm gonna make this one more thing, and I'm gonna wrap it up. Okay. So the design of it is very similar to how I designed this. There are some, but it's obviously it's not as big. Sure, it's size 4. Also, two. Um, and this, so that's the thing too, is that obviously the icon is here, right? But because it's a 32, it's not supposed to be. As you can see, there's tons of padding between the icon itself, right? And then because of there's 32, tons of padding 14, right? So that's not how it's supposed to have your 32 icons, and um but I gotta like fix that, and I'll right now. So top shadow. Supposed to be lines of which yeah. That's not how it looks. So there you go. So that's how we improved on it. We built those tools into it. You know, if I have time, you know, be able to stream again, I'll actually flesh that out. But they loved it. They were like, dude, they were so hyped. Like, dude, this is craziness. So, do tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow. I honestly don't know when I'm gonna be able to. Hope I'll be this weekend. This one right here. This is this man, dude. This was like pinnacle of my, like, in my opinion, it's like the coolest thing I've ever done in my career. It was awesome. It was such a hard problem. It was one of the hardest it was the hardest problem that I'd come across on that project. Man, user testing just did it, baby. Just saved us. Completely saved us. So I can't wait to talk about that. Go into specifics of but that'll have to wait for next time. Have to wait for next time. So thank you guys for those that joined and watched. Very much appreciated. And man, for dropping very kind. Appreciate you and everybody for watching content and everything. Yeah, I'm trying to ramp it up a little bit more. I'm getting more comfortable on camera. That's kind of been my thing. I'm very uncomfortable being on camera. I really, really hate it. I'd rather not camera. I'm starting to feel more comfortable. Starting to get less stressed out. Starting to be less of a perfectionist. Like the video I just released, if you notice I left a post, I shot that 4 times. 4 times I shot it. And I really honestly didn't have to shoot it 4 times. Maybe twice. But I really didn't have to. Focusing too much on things being perfect and like things will never be perfect. So, like I said, I did shoot a video that fun. It's not educational. It's a skit mostly. I just had a lot of fun with it. So probably sometime next week I'm gonna start editing. But I just had a lot. Something I always wanted to do. Finally just kind of did it. And then there'll be more, like I said, this whole process here, to a video, kind of explain the process, and there'll be more to come. I have like 2 or 3 scripts already written. So just a matter of getting all the equipment stuff together to get set up for it. That's really so anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.